What's up, folks? What's going on, family? Welcome to another edition of Real Talk for Real Men. I am your host, Lee Black, and I'm happy to be here today. So I'm having a much better week than I've had a few weeks, but I'm hoping that you're having a great week as well. And if this is your first time joining us, we are live on Wednesdays and Saturdays, typically. And on Wednesday shows, we tend to tackle a little bit more serious topics. And so I'm glad for those who are tuning in live. And I hope for those that follow up and check me out behind the scenes, please do so. We already have the real estate insider popping in. Appreciate you, sir. Thanks for popping in, checking us out. And of course, I'm going to bring in my co host, Mig Mac. What's going on?
I'm here.
All right. Well, I'm
Does
glad to
that
have
count?
you. You're
I'm
sitting in the
here.
witness protection program. How are
Oh,
you doing?
all right. I'm all right. I'm glad it's Wednesday. I I'm just ready for the day to be over with. Just a bad day. Just
You know, I'm not even going to go there, but I'm going to say that, you know what? We, in another little bit, we'll be on the other side of this and getting closer to the weekend. So thank you for showing up, sweetheart. And we got Lady D checking us out. I appreciate
come
that.
on,
So,
Devin.
yeah, so good to see you guys. So for those who don't know, please don't forget to subscribe to Real Talk for Real Men. And of course, as well to TFG. And we are under that umbrella. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook, and we air here live, typically on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on Saturdays at 7 p.m. And one of our family members is popping in as well, Mr.
Come on, Kenny.
Kendrick Sports Hustle. Good evening, my brother. He's also has his platform on the TFG. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe. So of course we're going to give a couple of moments to see if any of the family members join. But hopefully you guys are having a great week. And all right, I got Cuzzo from New York popping in to check us out. So the regular family, even the viewers are popping in. So I definitely appreciate that. So Tasha and I made a commitment towards the end of last year to make sure we take care of our health and wellness. And so sometimes, folks, we do take breaks from time to time. So we appreciate you being supportive. Carol, what's going on, Miss Carol? How are you doing? So good to have some viewers. So those of you watching, I hope you'll be a part of the show and chime in. Let us know what you think. Again, don't forget to subscribe, share the channel. We continue to need that support for sure. But while we're waiting on everybody, I'm going to go ahead on and introduce the topic that we're talking about. And it's an interesting one and that came up. And I wonder if anybody even know what this really is. Every now and then, outside of the fuckery and the foolishness that is so me, and I live for those moments for sure. And you can catch all of that content on TFG Ratchet. I do like to sometimes bring topics that's going to bring a little bit of education to the table. And tonight is going to be one of those quiet conversations. So Carol says hello. Brother
Carol.
Kenny says hello to Terrence and everybody. And so, hey, we're getting all the pleasantries out of the way. And so if it's just me and you, Tasha, we'll have a highbrow conversation between two intellectuals about a subject, that,
Um,
don't often get discussed.
I
So we'll
can't
talk
wait to
about
meet those two. No, I'm just kidding.
that.
I'm fucking with you.
Believe it or not, folks, we are two fucking educated individuals. We might mask it a little bit, but let's get this thing started. When you hear the term postcoital dysphoria, I don't. First of all, Tasha, did you decide to look it up?
Uh, no, I have not looked this up. No.
Okay. So good. I'm so glad you didn't because it's not a term that's often discussed. You don't often even hear this term, and I'll even share with the family how this even came up. Black men, we don't oftentimes talk about our sexual circumstances in a real quiet way. It's one thing to gossip, you know what I'm saying? But how often do you see African American men having a real conversation about sex? And I'm not talking about the gritty part of I did this, I did that, but about sex, about just having that real conversation about sex. And thank God that I have a few good associations with male friends that we do have these conversations. Tasha, you my best friend, so I talk to you about just about everything. So I
Mhm.
want to ask a question, before I even describe what it is, and get into the nitty gritty of it. But I want to ask a question. I wish I had more people on the panel, but when you've been in a relationship, Tasha, let me start it this way. Oh, okay. So we do have a family member popping in. All right. We got Mr.
Oh,
Bird. What's going on, my brother?
Robert.
Y'all, how y'all doing?
Man, we doing
Um,
okay. I'm so glad to have you popping in because again, we're getting ready to get into this conversation. So thank you for popping in. I hope your wife joins us. We're going to be talking about something called postcoital dysphoria. And have you ever heard of that?
I looked it up, and this has something. Does it have something to do with after you have an intercourse?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Okay, fantastic. And so I'm so glad you popped in. So let's get this thing started. And I want to hear from people watching as well. And I'm grateful you popped in, but because what do you guys think is a comfortable, normal amount of times to have sex within a relationship? Fuck the nonsense. We like to brag about I do this every day. But to your mind, what is a healthy amount of times to have sex in a relationship for you? And I'm just because it's going to vary from person to person. But for you, when you settle, and I want to say it this way, when we get past the initial physical attraction, I get when you're initially lusting after somebody, but I'm talking about when you settle into whatever that routine is. What is it for you that's a comfortable, normal amount of times to have sex?
in a week?
However you want to say it. But okay, let's use that as a measurement.
Okay.
That's a good way to start. In a
Okay.
week, what's a comfortable amount of time to have sex?
Are we both working?
It,
Oh, you're raising,
it's a lot that
you're
factors into
definitely
that, but
adding all
I,
those elements to it. Brother Kenny says 3 times a week.
I was getting ready to say at 3 to 4.
Tasha?
Yeah, 3 or 4. That's reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. DJ's pounding. Good to see you, DJ. Terrence says 6 times a week.
Oh,
Very interesting.
okay.
Very interesting. DJ says, I've been doing the faithful thing and it's hard. Pause. Same
No
person
Diddy.
gets bored.
I was getting ready to
LOL.
say no Diddy.
Damn, okay. But 5 times minimum. What if we hear sometimes where women say, not tonight. I don't feel like doing it. What happens when it's the man in this instance that says, I just don't feel like having sex, tonight? So I want you to hold that thought. And I want to talk about what postcoital dysphoria is. We all know that. What if I told you this is where you have the sex blues, an overwhelming feeling of sadness, irritability, depression, and anxiety after consensual sex?
That is the opposite of what you wanted to do.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So, knowing what that is, I'll just throw it out there right now. Have you ever experienced that? And we're not talking about due to conditions of, I got a headache, I'm just coming off my cycle if you're a woman. And I want to especially know if this is the case with men, where again, it's described as an overwhelming feeling of anxiety. And it says this is different from female sexual dysfunctions, but this is when you feel melancholy or depressed after consensual sex. DJ says, then she'll cry and say, you're not attracted. Now she's going to cheat on you. LOL.
Oh,
Damn, DJ, you going
wow.
through some things. You need to go see a therapist.
You went hard in the paint on that one. You went hard in the paint.
So while a burst thinking, Tasha, have you ever felt an overwhelming sense of depression, anxiety, irritability after consensual sex?
Never after consensual sex. No, that's heavy. And no,
Yeah.
if that happened to me, I can honestly say, like, if that happened to me after sex, I would honestly schedule a doctor visit immediately because something is wrong with me.
Mm.
That is true, DJ.
Okay. Brother Kenny said never had that happen.
Yeah, I've never experienced that ever. You know, I didn't even know. I didn't know that was a thing until I actually
I love where he
looked it
just
up
went.
real quick.
I love that he said that he never even thought that was a thing. I'm sitting here to tell you there was a point where I could not figure out why I was always sad. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought for me it was because I had too much sex.
Oh, okay.
I honestly thought,
Thank you.
let me take a pause, take a break. But Kenny says, yeah, that's different. And it's certainly not something that men want to talk about that, oh my God, that how do you tell somebody that we just finished having sex? I agreed to it, but it didn't satisfy me. And I had this conversation with a male associate, and it ended up leading me to search. And then, like you, I didn't know this was a real thing, and it's certainly not something that I had talked about to anybody about. But I absolutely felt that sense of depression, and I could not figure out why.
You're not talking about, and I'm not being funny. I'm not trying to be funny. You're not talking about just dissatisfaction with the sexual encounter. That's not what you're referring to.
No,
Okay.
no, I am not. So, and that's where I know at first take, that's where most people want to go towards.
Right.
DJ
Yeah.
says, I told the girl that so she would leave me, leave.
Ah,
That was single DJ. DJ
wow.
says, y'all know women, not all, but are easily sensitive. And so again, I'm not talking about a physical condition of she's sensitive down there, this, that, and the other, because again, we're talking about it being unpleasurable for other reasons. The man is too big, or he's too small. He's not satisfying you. I'm talking about generally feeling of depression, unexplained feelings of sadness, postcoital depression, or unhappiness. It goes on to say becoming tearful or crying, panic attacks, anxiety, frustration, irritability, or even anger and mood swings.
Wow.
You see scenes like that, like in movies,
Yeah.
or like if you read, you'll read about it, but I don't think I've ever heard, them. I don't think I've ever heard it said that way. And then usually it's more portrayed like with the woman where she cries after
Bingo,
it.
bingo,
So,
bingo. And a lot of times it gets confused and postpartum depression after a baby has been born and things of that nature. But I'm here to tell you this is a real thing. And I, for one, have experienced it. And I was told, and just so you know, I don't know if this matters, but I was having this conversation with a white male friend, just so you know. But that's what even got me to searching about it. Kenny said, wow, that's heavy. And that's because I've never heard a black man even want to admit and say that, because I think it's because I'm even thinking to myself, how would I be perceived? Because to your point, Tasha, I've had sex that wasn't enjoyable for other reasons,
right.
The mechanics behind it, hygiene, and look, contrary to popular opinion, not all pussy is good pussy. It's pussy, but it's not good pussy. There's no magic formula that just because it's attached to a woman that is going to be great, you know. And I think sometimes that's a myth that I'm giving him some pussy. So no, but there was moments where I genuinely felt like, you know what, I can't explain why I'm not happy. And Tasha, I want to hearken you back to a point because you know me so well, even getting to that place. And I used to talk about the moment it would be finished. I don't want to get too graphic here with my viewers, but Tasha's my best friend, so she's heard this from me before, and I didn't know this was a thing. But Tasha, you've heard me describe literally the moment that I'm done, so to speak, and I'm sitting there on the couch, legs spread, towel underneath me, just finished getting some head or fucking, and an overwhelming madness. I've had those feelings of anger. I just want this bitch to go. And the other part, sometimes it was confusion of what did I get out of that? I just didn't enjoy that. And what was crazy was the consensual part was I was attracted to I wouldn't have done it if I wasn't attracted to the person.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, you know, especially if she's giving me some good head and I give it the finger test and that pussy is halfway tolerable
Now
to the
wait a
point
minute.
where now, okay, I'm going to want to fuck. So, okay, look, this is going to be a broad conversation. So I did it because I wanted to do it, but now it's over with. And oh my God, why am I so depressed behind this? And that was something. So I didn't know that was actually a real thing. So I want to go into understanding this a little bit more. I want to talk about understanding the sexual response cycle. Before I get there, did you guys know there was even such a thing as a sexual response cycle? And if you did, what do you think it is? And it's almost sounds like what it says. What do you think the sexual response cycle is or is about?
I guess the way you feel, process emotion after, during,
Absolutely.
sex.
Absolutely. Hannah Burt, welcome, sister Hannah. How you doing, sweetheart? So, what do you guys think are appropriate levels of response after consensual sex?
Um, Excitement. Well, satisfaction, I would think would be the top. You might be like a little tired, a little thirsty, but like relaxed. I would think, or you could be feeling like that was a waste of fucking time. You could be feeling like that. So there's a lot. So
Okay. Sis is popping in. DJ says good night. Appreciate you popping in, my brother. If you gotta go, I understand. I do. Oh, unless he was saying good night.
That's what I thought
he
was
meant
saying.
that as his
Good night.
response. Oh, he meant that as his response. Good.
That's what I thought.
DJ,
I thought that,
you know that's
like, bye.
one of my responses is, bitch, you gotta go. Kenny says normally for men, we're trying to go to sleep.
Sleep.
I get that. DJ says what you're about to do, which is an appropriate question to let's usher this thing along. Hey, so what you're about to do. Welcome, sis. We're talking about postcoital dysphoria, which is an overwhelming feeling of anxiety, irritability, anger after you've had consensual sex. So right now I'm asking about the sexual response cycle. So Hannah, Bert, Sherry, what are some appropriate cycles you think you would go through, response cycles after consensual sex?
hunger. Oh.
Yeah,
Damn.
say hungry, tired means you did a good job. I think excited, but I also think consensual, even though you agree sometimes, doesn't mean you're always happy.
Explain that.
So some people, if they feel like sex is an obligation, if they're in a certain relationship, it's consensual, they agree, but they emotionally aren't connected and want to do it at that moment. But some people feel as though if I don't do it, someone else will. So I'm going to do it anyway. So I think that you have to, if you're not emotionally connected to the sex, sometimes you, even though you might fake it, you might definitely not have the good response at the end.
I love that. I love how you process that. Devin says, I feel like my nursing school owes me a refund for this chapter.
They
This
ripped
is
this
all
chapter
new
out.
to me. This is a nurse start talking. It just show you this is something that's not talked about.
Yeah,
Sis,
I did not know about that until I looked it up.
I did not. I had to look this up from a conversation, and it just something I wanted to bring to the family. I really did. Sis, what do you want to add to a appropriate level of response? And Kenny said, "Good point, Hannah. That's a brilliant point." Sis, what do you want to add?
You don't want to hear my response, brother, because I ain't got no time for no faking. If you ain't doing good job, get your ass up. You're not doing a good job. Men don't like that, though.
No, and I'll share this with you. Women like it even less. The male ego, in my opinion, is built to handle reaction. How about telling a woman that you didn't do a good job and get your ass up?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But let's go into the to sexual response cycle because there are 4 things, and you guys covered all of them, but it actually is an actual cycle. And Tasha, you said it right off the bat. Excitation. You're excited. You know, after great sex, you're excited. Look, how could you not be? And again, when you fat and old, you're extra excited that somebody was willing to give you some pussy. So I'm extra excited. I can't believe this bitch just fucked me. You know what I'm saying? Of
So
course
yours
I'm
is more a
excited.
surprise.
Like,
You know,
surprise sex.
the second one is plateau. Because there is a leveling off period that as you're coming down off of the psychochemical excitement of sex, you know, tired, hunger, all these things. And then in this particular article, do you know they highlighted orgasm? And and they did that for a reason. I see you pumping your fist and everything, but Tasha can speak to this in this sense. How many women don't get an orgasm?
That's true.
I was getting ready.
So if you don't achieve an orgasm,
yeah.
how can you come to the close of this cycle, which is a resolution?
And you got some men too. It takes some men a long period of time to do that too.
That's where I want to go with this conversation.
Is that you?
I'm coming right to you. I'm coming right back to you, Bert. Bert, I'm coming right back to you in a second because I want you to talk about that. DJ says sleep, hunger, or just excited. If it's not those 3 things, that's when you start rethinking things. Sexual chemistry is a real thing and deal breaker, men and women, in my opinion. And that's what you was talking about.
That's
Hannah.
what I am moment. I ain't know what that meant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But Bert, again, since we don't often associate this condition with men, what about if the man does not experience an orgasm?
Now, before I've heard guys in my circle, and they're saying that the sex was great. It just takes them a while. And sometimes the women just be like, yo, what's wrong? Is something wrong with me? And you're not being stimulated. And that's not the case. It just takes them a while to get to that point.
Absolutely.
A lot of men really don't. A lot of men really don't talk about that a lot. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times they just keep it to themselves, or you might hear somebody say, "Oh, he lasts long."
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just how the way they are. It's not that they're not into it. They're not into the woman, or the woman's not satisfying them. It's just the fact that it just takes them a little while longer to climax.
Well, Tasha always said I have verbal diarrhea, so I don't hold this type of shit in. Tasha's always told Black. You said, look, that I experienced that more than half the time. More than half the time, I actually don't come to orgasm. That's what made me drift more towards getting head. Is because more than 50% of the time, I don't reach an orgasm in that furry bank. I would love to make a deposit, but I'm not able to go there. You know, this is an educated conversation, so I'm trying to broaden, my wordplay because everybody's accustomed to me calling it that must is that. So I'm trying to be kind here.
Furry bank is not kind.
It's a very high level conversation. Okay,
I'm just trying to say. So, so again, I figured, well, you didn't wanted me to call it that dumb hole, do you? So I've got DJ says basically, Be Wet is talking about the legend.
Who is Be Wet?
Look, DJ is basically talking about the legendary smashers out here. Not to brag, LOL. I got you, Bert.
Who is Be Wet?
He's talking about
Bert's name, how it's spelled on the screen.
Oh, why is it spelled Be Wet?
I read it as it came across. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Absolutely.
Get my name.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't do this.
I wasn't joining.
I love it. I didn't do that. I didn't.
You did.
But I'll say this. You know that where you said that oh, he lasts a long time. How about when that person is lasting a long time because it's just not satisfying?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And the
Wow.
guy
Right.
is working hard to get to that orgasm because, again, I didn't know there was such thing as a sexual response cycle. But when you think about it, you know, it kind of makes a lot of sense to be able to go through these stages to get to a place of resolution of what did this connection mean? And again, women do the same thing to get to that stage, because I can't tell you how many women erroneously think that, oh, I whipped that on him, so I know they don't say this out loud, but okay, I guess I'm gonna be spending the night tonight, you know, or shit, you know, hey, he's my man now. When again, if you're not on the same page, baby, it was just some halfway decent pussy, but we ain't hit the same stage of resolution here. But in her mind, she might be thinking that, you know what, I done sucked toes, licked ass, and some more shit.
Toes.
So of course, you know, I got to have my toes licked, and I had pretty feet for a fat man as well. But again, you know, if you ain't gonna lick my ass, then at least you can lick my toes. So I'm just saying, you know,
I ain't gonna be licking on none of them.
just saying.
Are you
But-
saying we should tell people now my cycle's open? Like, go on, you left my cycle open.
I love that you said that, because Tasha, you just went to that place, because I want to ask the family a question. As we get older, don't we naturally go beyond the physical, and doesn't sex become more than just the physical act? What's up, Be Wet? Be wet or dry. Be wet or dry. That shit ain't never gonna leave you now, bro. That ain't never gonna leave you now.
That is so no diddy is crazy.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
That shit. You gotta do nickname, my bro.
I gotta change that because you wild.
But Tasha, and to answer that question,
You must have clicked it when you was there.
what was once for me the mission for me used to be the amount of time, the quantity. As I've aged, it certainly has become about quality now, because now I have those conversations in my head that if it's not going to be good sex, I would rather skip it and get a good night's rest or whatever. Is it the same for you as women? As you age, does it become more about good sex?
It's always about
It's
good
always
sex.
been good sex.
So for you guys, that's always the standard.
It's always the standard is good sex. Always.
So how do you explain bitches who letting so many soldiers in that war?
That's not about sex.
That's
Thank
just
you.
about
So what's that about?
That to me, that's something else, like more like inner. That's more like that person, just individually. But I would say by and large, though, if you ask a group of women, they're gonna say it's always been like good sex. That's always the standard.
Wow. Sherry, you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My brother on the panel, for you as you've aged, has it always been about good sex, or just getting the draws? No, good, bad, or indifferent.
It was, of course, it was always about getting the draws. And then as as time goes on, as you mature and everything, then it start becoming about having good sex. So but before it was just like, just lining them up and knocking them down.
Absolutely.
What in the world?
But that is like one of the main differences even now between men and women. Men want access to a lot of deep wet holes, but they don't want somebody who has a deep wet hole, so to speak. So.
I agree. DJ says,
I agree.
DJ says, seriously, it used to be a negative if men came quick.
It still is.
Damn.
Oh, sorry. This ain't about me. Go ahead. Sorry.
Damn. That's a real sore point with Tasha. But every woman claimed they have good pussy. Good. Well, he didn't say that. Good cat. But if he's able to go long, that can be a sign of awful sex, and that's what I'm asserting, DJ, that long sex is not always about that. Oh my God, this pussy is so good. More times than women may realize, I'm gonna speak for me, it really has been about, damn, this is not good pussy. What can I get out of this?
Ooh.
Because I've been here now fucking around, in this musty hole, and it's getting stinker.
Musty.
It's getting stinker every 10 minutes. It's getting even stinker, and this bitch is getting dry, so I got to keep pulling out, and then don't even get me ones on the big holes that's wallowing around and shit, where now you got to be twisting and turning and shit just to feel some kind of connection in that shit. So what can I get out of this? I'm just saying,
Dr.
you understood that acronym pretty good, didn't you? Getting the draws was always submission, but now it's about quality. And so that is an interesting thing. So to drive this point home about the sexual cycle is that it is a cycle, believe it or not, to get to that place of resolution for it to matter, to be something that matters, that won't lead to postcoital dysphoria, And so let's talk about some of the symptoms. And even though everybody I've assumed on this panel has never experienced it, I really have. Going back into the symptoms again, it talks about sadness or depressive feelings, including crying. Now, if I cried over some pussy, it was probably because the smell. So I never cried because, it was bad, but like an onion, feeling irritated after sex. Oh, I hear the because again, not all pussies are made the same. I like to joke and say that when the lights go out, it's not the same. It really and truly, and there are pussies out there. I'm speaking as a man, just like women get irritated by a man's size or whatever. Certainly y'all talk about being fingered. I know a lot of women who don't like certain things about a guy jugging his fingers into you. So again, technique matters. Feeling anxious or panicky. That one for me, thank God I've always known pretty much my way around them pussies down there, so I never felt any kind of anxiety.
Or panic.
Right,
It's always been cool.
Some people don't know their way.
I'm talking about because they're virgins.
Just because you had a quit.
Well, you know what? Not even necessarily because they virgins, Bert. Not even because they virgins. What about when some men have bite off more than they can chew? Somebody sexually out of their league. I fuck midgets, and there's a mechanics to it. Or if the bitch is real tall, and now where am I gonna put these legs at? Or bitches with no legs. Okay, how am I gonna make this work? You know what I'm saying? But I still never panicked.
No legs.
Yeah, I had bitches with no legs. So these are real feelings, and you got now this is the one for me: agitated and angry after sex. That is very, very real for me. Feeling confused and ashamed of these difficult feelings. I was confused. I wasn't ashamed. Blaming yourself for your negative response to sex. That was one for me that what's happening to me, and this is what I talked to Tasha about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, well, something is not right here. Am I doing this too much? And I'm mad with myself because how is it I just done it? So that one's real. Feeling exhausted and emotionally spent. Well, the exhaustion is real when you get to be fucking fat, I've been able to mask that by going in the bathroom and looking in the mirror, getting a break and, saying this bitch is trying to kill me. So let me go back out here and choke this bitch out real quick so I can end this thing.
Level the playing field.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So all of these are things that are real. Go ahead.
I have a question though. These symptoms that you're saying, you were feeling these like consistently after sexual
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
That's
right.
what it is. These aren't one-offs, right?
No. That's the thing. It wasn't just that's why I ultimately, real talk, all jokes aside, no bullshit aside, I ended up stopping because it was happening consistently. And again, I told myself, well, maybe I've had too much sex in my life, that I'm going to take a break here because this is not satisfying anymore. And I don't know why I'm doing this. And it was a lot of confusion in that, okay, this is this is not working. You know what I'm saying? And you do try to think of ways you can switch it up. And when it consistently kept happening, like, okay, I don't, and who am I going to talk to about this? So Tasha has had to catch the brunt of like, well, all I could think about is I remember looking at women and thinking, she's lingering around. Please just go. Bitch, there is no more nut in this pipe right here. You done squeezed all you can get out of it. And I'm looking at this bitch and she's standing there, ho humming and shifting from side to side. There's nothing left to see here. The circus is closed down. Please go.
Yeah, he was way more graphic when he called me.
Huh?
You was never really emotionally invested in the chicks though, right?
Enough to fuck them, I guess. I like them.
I mean, that was about it. That's as far as it went.
He couldn't have been Bert. Now he already was thinking of him as a bitch from the game.
But that's what I'm saying. Because
I mean that with love, shit, sis.
Not with love.
Oh my God. One of my best sexual partners. She's probably watching. That's a good bitch right there. That bitch got some good pussy on her. You know what I'm talking about. So and she wouldn't even mind me saying it that way. That bitch got some good pussy on her. But okay. Terrence says, does feeling ashamed and guilty after sex count as one of... Absolutely, Terrence. Absolutely. For sure. DJ says a lot of women don't know they whack because men lie.
DJ, you got a lot of opinions. We gonna have to get DJ a therapist because he's going through some things.
Well, when did Chris Brown holler on this song? One of my favorite songs. He said, "Okay, I'm gonna say Karuchi."
Ain't no say her name, Black. No.
Don't say her name.
No name drop.
Oh, don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that.
And telling me not to say her name, baby.
Drop.
Baby, I got mad love for you. The sex has always been good with you. So I never experienced postcoital dysphoria with you because, bitch, you got some good pussy on you.
Oh, my Lord.
And you know it. So let me say that. Carol says, I'm back and had to take a diversion phone call. So I am not talking about you. I am not talking about you. So, Sherry, there are some bitches that I love.
In a way. We love them like in a way that you can love a bitch, That's what I meant to say.
Add that part, Tasha.
I'm just saying. Okay. Even though you ladies have not experienced it, but I do want you to recognize a couple of statistics because I do want it to go here because who knows, it may happen. So I wanted to share some information where it talked about postcoital dysphoria in women. And I want to read this. Multiple studies have found that postcoital dysphoria is more common in women than men. That's why I was very surprised when all of you said that you never experienced it. It says, for example, the results of an online survey published in Sexual Medicine found that almost half of all women, 46%, had experienced postcoital dysphoria in their lifetime. And 5% had experienced it in the past month. So these numbers jumped off the page because it's clearly more common than we talk about. Hannah, go ahead, sweetheart.
So I wasn't here in the beginning. So I'll say this. And I know this might come off weird. So when my first marriage, I would get towards the end, I would get upset, angry, and sad.
Wow.
Every encounter. And I couldn't put my hand on it because I would literally feel like the world was caving in and I was full of depression. And that's not a good feeling. So I have experienced it before. And it's not a good feeling, especially when you think you're emotionally into something and then you're in it at the moment. And then when you're done, you're like, upset.
It's
you're
literally
mad,
you're literally
it's
nailing
right
it,
after. You
and
can't explain it.
my hairs are standing up because again, I didn't know, Hannah, that this was a thing.
Yeah,
I didn't know it had a name.
Yeah. But
You
it's
know.
a real thing, but you can't pinpoint it because you're like, I was in the moment, I was happy.
Right.
But then after you like, burn his face. He know he do. I said the first marriage, not this one. BJ, some blanket be safe. Not this one.
Be wet is okay.
Right.
You ain't never losing that nickname.
That's how
bro.
you put up your freak.
Oh my God!
But no, like it's hard when you can't diagnose something and you don't know and you thinking it's you. But then when you feel that others go through it, you're like, okay, so it wasn't just me. But now you put a name to it. I didn't know what it was. I never heard of it before.
I didn't, and it's caused me to rethink past relationships too.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because what those times when the person said, "I don't feel like it," you know, or afterwards even, and I go back and again, I've had a lot of partners, so you go back in time and. I hate to say it this way, but bitch, you should be floating around the room, but you're looking kind of sad over there, you know? So, you know,
Well,
and I mean,
so to this topic though, like, yes, I think back to like my last relationship. I didn't feel this. I just was like, I don't want to fuck him. I just don't like fucking him. That's all it was.
Gotcha.
It wasn't like just this overwhelming like depression. No, I still enjoyed sex. You just didn't do it for me anymore. That's all it was.
And that's why I say I think that's different from what you told me about that. You know,
emotionally checked out
for other reasons, right?
Definitely.
You know, right? You know, because again, you know, look, sorry, bro, I'm gonna have to put you on front. So I ain't gonna say his name, you know, but even in this case, because we talked about this. This is my best friend, guys. So I asked those questions. You know, according to Tasha, his size wasn't a problem.
Nope.
Tasha said,
age, he was young enough. You know what I'm saying? His performance,
terrible,
was from. I didn't want to say it. She said it. You know.
So it was his performance.
Mm-hmm.
So does that go into the topic then? Because that's just
no.
For me, I didn't have this overwhelming like anxiety or anything like that. It wasn't. I didn't feel like that. I just felt like I just don't want to have sex with him.
And that's why I don't think she falls into that category. But I'm so glad that you shared your story, Hannah, because when I look at those numbers, and again, we never know if numbers is accurate. They could have done it for the magazine, but for the purpose of this conversation, it is suggesting though that it's more common than people talk about. But who knew it was called this? Because we didn't know that prior to me doing this research last week, because we was going to have this conversation last week. I didn't even know this was a freaking thing. I didn't even it was called anything. She just says, Tasha, sheesh, that would kill a man's ego. Damn, did you send him to the therapist you recommended for me?
I had to go find my own. I sent my damn self to a therapist. Okay, I had to go find a therapist.
DJ's the ultimate troll. I swear.
And I encouraged Tasha to stay in that longer than she probably would have, because I was rooting for them. I liked the guy but as much as I knew him, and I liked him more because he genuinely loved her.
True.
That was my thing was, how can you not like somebody that this guy he loved her? So for me, I'm rooting for him, like, you know, like Tasha, give him a chance, this, that, and the other, you know.
I did give him a chance.
What's going on, Brother Lamar? You know. So yeah, you know, but again, I think for her that's different. That was performance and things like that. But this is different.
There was other stuff too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, right. There was other things. Okay. Let's talk about for men, because postcoital dysphoria for men is a little different. And it says, I'm reading this, postcoital dysphoria is often referred to as post-nut clarity in men.
What's that?
And I know why he's laughing,
How is that?
because I had
gotta
never
use
heard
that
it
one.
put that way.
That's
I
hilarious.
had never heard it put that way, but I'm gonna talk about that in a second, because me and my boy, and I don't want to get him in trouble, because he says he's gonna watch this show. Because before this call, for this show tonight, he said, "Well, I never heard of it, so I'm gonna watch this." Because he said I'm interested, and I wouldn't tell him what it was. But we talked, but I never heard it described that way. And is every man watching this or going to watch this, we feel different after we've got that nut, just so you know. Post-nut clarity in men. It says, although postcoital dysphoria is less common in men, it's experienced more than you might realize. A 2019 study published in a Journal of Sex and Marital Therapy found that 41% of males had experienced postcoital dysphoria in their lifetimes, and 3 to 4% experienced it on a regular basis.
I've heard of post-nut clarity. I knew what that was.
That's why when I read it, I've heard
I
that
never heard the
term,
Maybe
but
I
Tasha, I
heard
never associated it with this,
PNC.
because you know how we talk about it in the street. You know, shit, I got my nut. You know what I'm saying? Now the bitch gotta go.
I guess like that's just okay. Maybe like the school. Maybe the school that I went to, maybe it was the people I hung around, because it was a very, very, white crowd. But that I always heard that.
Wow.
And they would talk about it. That's why some of them would say,
wow.
That's why for me, I hate if he gets up and goes to immediately getting dressed, wanting to leave, because that's what I liken it to. Like, okay, so you just got clear that you shouldn't have been fucking with me. That's why I take exception to it.
Tasha, I never connected that. I never connected that. You just connected that dot.
Yeah, that's always why I take exception to it, because I'm like, the fuck did I do? Like, you clearly just enjoyed yourself. Yeah.
And what's crazy about this conversation is we talked about this on another episode, because for me, getting up immediately afterwards is not about the performance. It's always been me about the hygiene part. It's always been about the hygiene, but we talked about this, and I never processed it from where Tasha was sitting, that it didn't ever cross. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a selfish fucker, so I never processed it as she's thinking, and I mean that literally. But my thing is, okay, I've come, let me go clean myself up, but I didn't process it as, is she thinking about, damn, okay, what did I do? That kind of thing.
Because I think about it, and to Hannah's question when she was like, explain it, for some the way that it's been explained to me and from what I've heard, it's just that the moment that guy's nut, it's like the lust is gone, the want is gone, the desire is gone, and you're just kind of left with your decision, your action, so you've seen those memes where like the guys are sitting on like the edge of the bed after they done went raw. It's like that, like, oh shit, like I may have fucked up. So
yeah,
and it's a real thing. Lamar says even with solo work.
I
never felt that way about sex with my step. No.
Lamar.
Brother Lamar. Well, so again, Tasha said,
now to that though, there is a guy that I know to this day that he watches porn, like he likes to watch porn, he likes to masturbate and things like that, but he said he's immediately disgusted by the screen as soon as he nuts, because he's like, how the fuck can I watch something that disgusting and come to that? That's your eyes. What? That's not mine. You put that.
Oh wow.
He needs therapy.
And
wow.
Black, I'll tell you who it is too. I'll tell you who it is.
I get
therapy.
Ooh.
Not on air.
It starts with a J.
Okay. Sorry, y'all. That was a whole nother moment, y'all. Okay. Lamar says just feel so filthy afterwards.
After porn?
No,
like after Lamar talking about like sex after masturbating.
Yeah, now
some people feel that after masturbating.
If you're fornicating, or do you feel like that if you're married?
I think some people feel that way, like, because it's more, I think some of it's more built like in shame of like, you should definitely not be touching yourself like that, kind of deal. I don't know. I say touch yourself. That's just
If you
my
don't
opinion.
touch yourself, then how do you know what you want?
I'm not disagreeing with you now. I've never been a big fan of masturbation because I didn't know how to do it very well, just to be honest with you. It always for me seemed like a waste of time tugging and pulling on myself and shit when it's just so much easier to plop myself in somebody's head. You know,
Thank you for the demonstration.
Why are you on the head?
I'm just,
Why are we on the head?
because I can come quicker from oral sex. I was addicted to oral sex. So for me, the time I gotta spend closing my eyes or looking at a screen and all that kind of shit, my hands are not very big and shit, and trying to put lotion, it's just too fucking messy. It's so much more sanitized, plopping yourself in somebody's head, and they're not gonna drop a drop. And then the really good one's gonna go get a nice warm towel and clean you up like a baby, and you just
see if somebody were to clip that and just post it without contact, you would be in so much trouble. They'd be like, "Wait, pause! Like, who are you talking about?"
That's like, what is wrong with him? What?
Somebody clip that and post it.
No, this would be canceled.
I'm just saying. So, brother Lamar, that's a new one on me, but I'm not saying that it's not possible. For somebody to feel pretty filthy. Now, a lot of women I know will masturbate, putting their big sausage fingers in their pussy. They didn't feel too
Okay.
filthy.
Why they got sausage fingers?
Well, the person I'm thinking of, she had man hands, so her hands were bigger than mine and shit. So the time I looked around, she shoving something in her pussy and stuff. They didn't want me to come behind her, and then think it was sexy, like, oh, my pussy's so wet, bitch. Please, if you stop playing in that shit and digging a deeper hole than needs to be, so leave that shit alone. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
You think? You think?
I'm not a big fan of over masturbation. Tickle that bitch if you want to, but my God, leave it alone. It has enough trouble on its own. Leave that shit alone.
What Joe say? Tickle again. Tickle again.
Oh gosh.
Okay, let's get to the reasons behind postcoital dysphoria. So this is where it gets dark. Some of the reasons it talks about a history of physical abuse, a history of emotional abuse, or the more common one for me is relationship dissatisfaction. And I want to read this. It says, sex is intimate and can bring up a lot of feelings. In addition, the various hormones released during sexual activity and orgasm, back to orgasm, may bring our emotions to the surface more strongly, particularly with a history of abuse or with current relationship problems. I see you nod your head in agreement, my brother. So these are some things that they list as reasons. Now, again, I've never been physically abused. I've never even been emotionally abused. I would not stay in a relationship where I'm being abused emotionally, so that's just not my makeup, not my personality but I do know men in this case, as well as women that are in emotionally abusive relationships, and sometimes we don't think of it about that way. And I forget who I was talking to recently about this. Some people's love language to me is emotional abuse. Now, jokingly, when I use the term bitch, I want to be serious here. I don't go around calling the woman a bitch, not out of the context of that bedroom. Now, in the bedroom, yes, I do use that word, but it's all within the moment. You know what I'm saying? And she's calling me a few things too. Get this pussy, motherfucker, you black bastard. You better work. I'll say that's all a part of that moment. You know, starts laughing. Because again,
But outside the bedroom, she better not utter the
right. You know, so we don't go around, even the person I'm thinking about, like, I'm not gonna walk in the room and she gonna say, "You big dick motherfucker, come here," you know. So
Please.
I'm just saying, you know, yes, I have a big dick. But we're not gonna get into that. And again, outside of the context of us having fun, I'm not going to just say, "Hey, bitch," you know. So I don't say it that way, but I'm talking about relationships that I do know of that there's real emotional abuse, and that's their language and how they talk to each other.
Mhm.
I know relationships where the man is constantly running the woman down. We know people like that. I'm sure that he's always running her down. Just sit your dumb ass down. Don't you know people that really, really and truly do that? But we don't call it a emotional abuse because that's how they always talk to each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So again, I'm not part of that, but I have been in situations where relationship dissatisfaction, it was a real thing. And so when I think back again, and this is going to throw the conversation in a different direction, the relationship dissatisfaction wasn't necessarily her fault. I've been in situations where I knew the relationship had a snowball's chance in hell of being the real thing, but I stayed in it. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
I went into it knowing I'm fucking with her for a minute, but this is not the real thing. And you know what's crazy about that? When you're laying with somebody in those intimate moments and they utter, "I love you," or this, that, other, and you know you're not going to say it back. So you craftily, skillfully talk around it. And I think back to that now, and I'm thinking in one person in particular, this young lady, and she was, to this day, the best head I ever had. Carmen, you as a bona fide headmaster.
What?
You know.
Why are we saying names?
Well, he's mentioned her before by name in other shows.
Carmen is a bona fide headmaster, but I did not do that girl well. This girl was absolutely, positively, fully invested in me, and I knew from day one. What it is. To Tasha, to your dudes, his expression, you know what this is. That always was with me, that you know what this is. And what made it worse, and I'm not proud of this, all of my other friends knew as well that, he's just fucking with her, but nah, he ain't serious. They knew. So when I think back to this young lady, there was real relationship dissatisfaction because, of course, my heart wasn't into fucking her. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And now there were other things too, you know, real skinny, head magnificent, but pussy was all wallowed out. And this is the one that liked to get fucked in the ass, because in order for me to get something out of it,
You know what?
her ass was better than a pussy, but that's a whole nother story.
I told you to stop it way long, that sentence, way before you got there.
I have to make it make sense for people to understand that. You just say her kids are proud to hear that.
DJ got a shit.
She do have 3 kids too. So, but anyway, so that's why the pussy was all wallowed out. Somebody had wallowed this shit out long before I had got to it. I'm just no, you're right. I'm in her case, but in her case, it was all wallowed out, Hannah. It was all wallowed out.
Kids.
You know, and she had the nerve for that pussy to be as tart as it was all the time. That pussy was just as tart as it want to be. But
now, if you had to demonstrate tart, go ahead with the facial expression. Demonstrate tart.
That's the onion face, where you kind of want to, you know, kind of want to cry.
I was thinking tart like tastes like a lemon kind of sound.
No, I wasn't going to eat that pussy. You know, No, I wasn't gonna eat that pussy, but it was definitely tart. Like it had like
Why
like
would you
a
enter it?
like a musty old clothes smell to it.
Please get off these people's internet immediately.
Did you say mothballs? What?
Hunter, look at your face. You making it now.
But she was a
Oh,
beautiful person. But
God.
again,
Clothes in the
to
cooch?
the DJ says yuck. But DJ, I fuck with her because she was
No,
a
you
beautiful
should
person.
not F with her.
She was a beautiful person.
Not
brought me
for-
groceries.
Not with tart old cooch.
But again, the head made up for everything else.
No,
Yeah, it did.
I don't care if she was superhead. That
Yeah.
old clothes in your cooch is crazy.
Yeah. And again, I could never figure that part out, but the
So it
pussy
smells like
was
thrift store?
the pussy was super tart. Super tart.
That's wild.
I'm just saying. So,
That's
Bless you.
crazy.
I'm just-
That is crazy.
I don't think that was probably. I don't think it was this postcoital dysphoria.
No, that was just foul.
No, and I'm talking about for her.
Respect.
I'm not for
Oh,
me. This is why I'm telling this story.
That was post whole coital, whatever you want to call it.
I'm telling this
Yeah.
because
Alcohol.
who know this was a thing that for her, I believe for her it was post-coital because there's no way she could be satisfied. There's no way. And the sex, it would be those intense moments of sadness. I'm getting something out of it. And eventually it got to the point where no matter how long she stayed under, she would suck dick for full hour on straight. But then it got to a point where I'd just be laying in a pool of sloppy spit. So it was like just ridiculous that, like, and to the point where I started hating her because she's under the cover for so long. And now my mind is, you know what? 15, 20 minutes is just magnificent. 30 minutes, okay, this is going on a little bit long, bitch. Now you got 40 minutes, and now I'm starting to hate this bitch underneath there. And it's starting to feel all gushy and wet, a whole lot of spit around my thighs and shit. So now it's just disgusting. And
well, maybe she was just one of those, people, one of those that just like enjoyed giving, and maybe
She's a
she did get
pleaser.
something
Yeah.
out of getting fucked in the ass.
Yeah.
Maybe she did.
She's a pleaser.
No, my brother was just disgusted.
I
How the
ain't saying I
hell?
don't care.
How the hell you talk about she smelled like an onion or whatever, and you fucking in the ass and brother?
Old clothes. Add the old clothes, Sherry.
Yes.
she just said she needs
Immediately. OBGYN. Immediate.
Well, in that case,
put in
it's
the
a
dryer or something.
DJ, it's a
OB.
lot of them need to answer. I got a good friend right now who, by her own admission, her pussy smell.
Black, you better be so careful saying that shit.
Wait,
You
somebody
get a
said
pop up
that
at
to
your
you?
apartment by some people.
Wait,
Huh?
somebody said that?
I got a friend that will tell you, well, my pussy smells. I love
No,
it.
that's not normal.
I'm
Yeah,
just
she
saying. I'm just saying,
And this ain't the first time.
So, but anyway, we getting off track.
Who says that?
What? We've been off track.
I'm about to say getting. We haven't been on the track.
I only started telling this fucking story to basically highlight that the girl probably was going through this, and I never knew it was a thing
No.
because I was so selfish at that time that it didn't matter. And I look back, and that's just one example. I had a few of them like that I knew the relationship wasn't going anywhere, but it served my means. And after the post-nut clarity kicked in, even for them, that okay, the damn, he don't love me. Look, and that's why I said this is very, very real. This shit is very, very real. I want to close out on this subject by, of course, talking about how to cope with postcoital dysphoria. So for those watching who might come behind this show and watch after you dispense with the fuckery and the foolishness and the shit that come out of my mouth,
Immoral.
just know it is a real condition for real. And we're not even going to go into deep, but it just talks about accepting your emotions, because they're real, not to, not to deny them that this is, and that's the thing. I didn't want to know that this was real. And it goes on to talk about exploring those feelings, journaling, practice mindfulness, and post-sex care, things like that, and getting professional help like therapy. So again, we all know that, especially when you're talking about African American men, we're not going to do any of that shit. Let's just keep it honest. We're going to, so this is where I wanted to go with that. It's sad because we're going to bottle it up. We're not going to tell anybody that this is happening to us, because while we've sat here and had this conversation and been able to laugh about it, can you imagine men who might watch this going to somebody and say, hey man, let's talk about it? Because it's not. I had this conversation with a white guy. African American men, when it comes to our dick and our performances, we live inside of our own myths a lot of times, and that's being very truthful. And the truth of it is, not every black guy got a big dick. Not all of us got great stamina. Not everybody can fuck. We don't all lay it down. That is just not true.
We know.
and that's why women know, y'all know, and I'm saying that for real, and that sometimes fellas, believe it or not, it's us, not them. And that's the honest to God's truth, that sometimes it's us. And if you're going to explore these feelings, sometimes it's okay to be honest. So this is going somewhere else. If you know it's not going anywhere, this is where you're wasting somebody's time, and you're putting them in a situation where that post-nut clarity is not just about us. And I would like to say it is.
That's a real symptom.
It's
Why are you laughing? You're
so,
immature.
Folks,
be wet.
My brother be wet. So anyway, I want to close out because this was such an interesting topic, but I do want to go around the room. I want to know, did you get anything out of this conversation? I'm gonna start with you, sis. I know we covered a lot of ground here. What'd you get out of this conversation, if anything?
I went to school, because you already know I ain't sucking no dick and none of that and all that kind of stuff. I'm not doing none of that.
But on the subject of postcoital dysphoria, what's your takeaways, if anything?
I mean, I never, experienced none of the things. But I try to be a little sympathetic with try to find out, but I don't be having no problems. I don't know.
Okay. I'm gonna close out in a minute. Postings, my brother Be Wet and sister Hannah. DJ say fantastic. Thank you, brother DJ. Man, I appreciate your love and support for real. What do you guys get out of this conversation that we brought to the table for real?
I'll say this. It was good for me to know, like I said before, I went through that, but I didn't know what it was. Like, I knew I was emotionally checked out, but I didn't know why I was feeling sad, angry, and depressed. And it's good to know something, because sometimes we can go through life and they say you learn something every day. And it's good to learn something no matter how old you are, no matter how educated you are. Sometimes you learn new things, and it's good to finally realize, to know that's an actual condition, because I couldn't pinpoint it. I knew it wasn't right, but I just didn't know what it was. So I was very educated today, and I was happy.
Thank you. What you say, my brother?
I would just say maybe at certain points in time in my life, maybe I did fall into that category. Just didn't know that there was a term for that. But also in the African American community, as far as men, we need to really open up about that and stop holding stuff back. You know what I'm saying? It don't mean you whack or you a certain way. It just, you know what I mean? If there's somebody that you can really confide in and talk to them about, because you never know. You might be helping someone else out that could be possibly going through the same type of situation. They just didn't know. Just like I didn't know about post-nut clarity. I didn't know about post-nut clarity, PNC.
Saying it.
I didn't know about it. But now I do.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
If you have, since we're talking about therapy, if you have insurance since 2019, seeing a therapist falls in your insurance under preventative care. So you're
Absolutely.
not charged a fee as a specialist anymore. So if you use your insurance to see a therapist, you're not paying a cost anymore. So you can see one with your insurance without worrying about a fee. People are so expensive. It's not a fee anymore. It's preventative care because they know it's a real thing. So you can see it for free. Like you get your physical, you can get therapy just like that now. So take advantage of the insurance.
But sister, that's the problem. How many black men are willing to take advantage of that? Because the perception is that I don't want anybody to know them in therapy, and certainly for not something like this. And that's what Brother Bird is talking about.
You're right.
I wish we could get past that. And I don't know that I have an answer for that.
Or search for somebody relatable. You can get a woman, a man.
I just don't think we're there. I just don't think we're there.
Yeah, I don't think all of us are there. And
You know.
it needs to be encouraged more.
Be wet.
Be wet is why y'all can that's your name from now on.
I told you, you ain't never losing that name. You ain't never losing that name. You might as well lock that in, my bro. You ain't never losing that name. Tasha, what's your takeaways from this conversation?
This was a really, really good conversation. You know, and it's good to know for people, for yourself, you know, because this affects men and women, but how common it is. So you can look for certain things like in yourself, but also like paying attention to, you know, like to your partner and seeing like if they have that. So then they know kind of maybe you know, not necessarily where you can self-diagnose, but like you have like an idea of what's going on and maybe where to start to get it resolved. I don't think that we went over that though. Like if there was anything like as far as like what to do or how to fix it or anything, or time frame for how long it lasts or anything.
No, I didn't, because again, it's literally talking about things like post-sex self-care and getting professional help. And so again, that's my takeaway, that I want to add that education is something special. And now that I'm aware of something like this, that's where even I want to say for you, sis, being an elder statesman for women you deal with, your daughter's friends, this is something you never know that if they came to you now, wow, that this is real. So imagine having that conversation with a friend and they're sharing something, and now you know to be able to say, hey, guess what? That is a real thing. Your feelings are valid. You know, DJ says, my therapist, Vaughn E, is amazing and black. Wow. But great show, Fab Five. Let's go, PNC boys. Man, thank you. DJ, thank you for sharing that. And that you said that, Hannah. And Hannah, that you said that. I have one of my coworkers right now, and this was like a month or so ago. He came into the Zoom meeting, and such and such is in therapy. I never would have thought about doing this before, but you know what? I'm not gonna say I'm getting ready to run out right now and do it, but that is a benefit of my health insurance that I'm not taking full advantage of.
I've been in healthcare forever. That's why I say
to be perfectly honest,
for years. So I'm telling you, take advantage of every part of your insurance, and that is needed.
Hey, Black.
Yes, sir.
And I'm being serious with this. Lord, help that therapist you go to. Lord, help that therapist you go to. Lord.
Bert, brother Bert, brother B Wet, there's a lot of fucking people living up here.
You are going to be a case study. That's what they're gonna make. They're gonna write a book about you. That's what's gonna happen.
Yes, Lord. There's a lot of things living up here, but this show has been. Question? Sure.
Do you think, and I'm saying this from experience, do you think sometimes people go through that because they haven't talked to someone about it or suck out therapy? That's why they probably go through that after sex, because they haven't been able to process it.
Definitely. Absolutely. And here's the crazy part. Not everybody, we take for granted that we have an outlet of friends we could talk to.
Yeah.
You would be blown away. You got people on social media that have 1 million friends, but not a friend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We use that term so loosely. And so this has been therapy. Tasha and I have been doing this for years now. So seriously, this has been my therapy. I get to do this show because when I learned something, I was like, I want to bring this to the family and discuss it openly in front of you guys. And of viewers like Terrence and DJ and Lamar and Carol, and this has become my therapy in so many ways. And that don't mean I don't need a real therapist, but we take for granted that not everybody even have an outlet. They're afraid to speak up. After all these years of doing this, it's still difficult to put together an all-male show because men in particular don't want to articulate something like this because it's too sensitive, it's too personal, and this, that, and the other, you know. And that's the takeaway from me is that thank you guys for letting me, seriously, in all seriousness, be this vulnerable, this open and honest, and make it fun. But it is something that I wanted to bring out to the table because I hope you had this conversation with your small circle of friends that, hey, do you know there's a such thing as this, that, or the other? You know, so and I'll end it like I said it. This platform is certainly filled with its share of fuckery and foolishness and games, but every now and then, we're able to sneak in something real that has value. So I wanted to thank you guys for definitely, you know, being a part of that. DJ closes out by saying, real talk, the finance world is so demanding, that he works for is so demanding. This show and the other shows are forms of relaxation for me. Yeah. I appreciate y'all. I know exactly what you mean, DJ. Tasha and I started by we're tired, you know, and you know, everybody on this panel, Sherry is dealing with a tremendous amount of emotional stress every day. Hannah and Bert, y'all are working parents. Tasha and I, we talk about being single. We make this shit look easy, but it's not. And we all dealing with fucking rent. Today is the 3rd. But as tired as we are, the energy that I leave with and when I came with, I thank you guys because to DJ's point, it is a form of a relaxation and decompressing from my day. So, folks, guess what? We made it to the other side of Wednesday. You know what? Enjoy the rest of the week. Be happy, be whole and healthy. And as always, be good to yourself, you know, and to each other and keep it real. See you on the other side. Peace.
Yeah, go see a therapist.